So, things aren't looking too good.
The Bieber may have been a hasty design, but the Allies took the threat very seriously and were anxious to find out everything they could about them. Deep in the archives of the Imperial War Museum, I'm reading about subs like ours, which were captured by the Royal Navy. I don't like the sound of this. In 1944, the British captured a Bieber that was floating helplessly in the sea. The pilot was dead because exhaust fumes had leaked into his cabin. The Navy towed the Bieber back into Portsmouth to investigate it. They found that the pilot had died of carbon monoxide poisoning caused by the petrol engine. And it gets worse. A Commander Halliday took the same Bieber out and got badly burnt by a leaking fuel pipe. I think I've got a ring, Claire. This petrol engine sounds like a killer.
Hello?
Hello, Claire. Yeah, listen, I've just come out of the Imperial War Museum, and that Bieber is a really dangerous thing. Yeah, one of the German pilots was found asphyxiated from exhaust fumes, and then an English officer who took it out for a test trial was really severely burnt by petrol leaking out of one of the fuel pipes. So I'm really starting to think that petrol engine's out of the question.
I mean, I know it was designed in a rush, but we have to do something.
No, I really do think the petrol engine's just too dangerous. All right, bye.
I'm really annoyed. There are some thugs phoning to say the petrol engine, we just can't use it. You know, I mean, I know these things were designed in a rush, and there must be a way to get around it, but the petrol engine leaks too many fumes through to the pilot, which also means that our battery situation is not looking good, so we can't use the electrical motor, so all of a sudden the whole project's looking a bit... And the point was to make it work, not to make it a static museum thing.
As the conning tower of our Bieber is dipped in paint stripper, I can't help thinking that the whole project is sinking. It seems the petrol engine is going to gas anyone foolish enough to use it, and without batteries, we'll never find out if our electric motor works, let alone dive her on it. At the moment, the best we can promise the submarine museum is a shiny but static exhibit. When we began the restoration of this Second World War German mini-sub, we wanted to say we'd restored the only fully working World War II sub in the world. Set yourself a goal like that, and you know it won't be easy. And it ain't.
This unfortunately just dropped out.
The hull is like a sieve, the petrol engine kills people, and our electric motor has no battery.
This isn't going anywhere, is it?
No, that's it, I'm afraid.
At the moment, we'll be lucky to even get her floating in the water.
But just like the cavalry in some western, half the fleet have arrived. It's refit time. They can fix anything here, even the Ark Royal. She's the Navy's biggest ship, 20,000 tons of kit. With all this activity, it means Batteryman Joe has shelves full of the Navy's finest AAAs, and he reckons one set might just power our sub.
Hello, Joe. You going, mate?
Not bad.
Got some news for us?
I have got some news. I've had a look at my batteries that I've got here, and I've got one that might be right up your streets.
Is it a similar size? I mean, like capacity-wise?
Capacity-wise, it's
the
similar
originals?
to the originals, yes.
But what about physical size? That's the next thing.
Our submarine's a bit on the small side.
Oh, it's only about the right size. Looking very good.
That's it, we're having it.
We may have a project after all.
All right.
Do you want it back?
I do need it back, yes.
How long have we got?
About a month.
That should be all right.
That'll be all right for you. About a month.
Promise we'll bring it back.
We should better get to France and back in that time.
You're a star.
Cheers.
Cheers, Joe.
See you
Catch you later.
Don't forget to bring the battery back.
I'll tell you what, that is really good news.
Oh, I'm glad it's made you smile.
Now we've got some juice, we might actually get that boat underwater and drive it along.
To France and back.
Come on, let's go on with it.
That battery's got enough power to shift our sub on the surface and underwater. We're back to action stations. I was afraid our submarine was beginning to become just another dry, dusty museum exhibit. But these batteries means we can turn it back into a living machine and, importantly, really start to feel what it was like for those young submariners disappearing beneath the waves.
The Bieber was designed with one main mission in mind, attacking any Allied invasion force trying to land on the beaches of France. But on D-Day, the 6th of June 1944, when 7,000 ships and 127,000 men stormed across the Channel, only 3 Bieber were ready. The Allied advance was so quick that soon the Bieber fleet had to retreat to Rotterdam. Instead of a short run to a rich target, they now had to travel over 50 miles in order to harass Allied shipping entering the busy port of Antwerp. Well, I found a record of Bieber actions, and it really is incredible. On the 23rd of December 1944, 11 Biebers sailed, none came back. Then on the 6th of March, again 11 sailed, and again none returned. Look here, though. On the 12th of March, 15 went out, and 2 did return. They really were the lucky ones. These were suicide missions. These guys must have known they were just not coming back. No wonder I'm having trouble tracking down any Bieber pilots from the Second World War. So few survived. But after weeks of trying, I've just got lucky and received an email from this man, Heinz Hubler, who dived in Biebers during the war. So I'm going to see if I can get in touch with him.
Back at the dockyard, things are starting to go well. Not only do we have the batteries we need, but our hull has been patched and made watertight. But the thing that is really going to keep the water out is this sealing strip, which I'm responsible for. We don't actually know what sealed the 2 sections of hull together, and we're using neoprene seal, but it could have been like an asbestos joint and red lead, or it could have been natural rubber, or it could, because it was towards the end of the war, been an artificial rubber that they started to make. Whatever, as long as it does the job, fine.
After a few phone calls, I've managed to hook up with 80-year-old Heinz Hubler and his son Gerhard. Heinz is one of the last people alive who actually dived in a Bieber. He enlisted in the German Navy in 1940 and volunteered to pilot Biebers in combat in 1944. He remembers his first week's training as an exciting time for a 20-year-old.
And what was it like to get into a Bieber for the first time?
Es war leicht zu fahren, war interessant.
It was very easy to drive and very interesting diving because the sea was very clear and I could see all the fish swimming round. I was young and never thought about the danger. It was a bit like getting the keys to a new sports car. You want to get in and drive it to its limits.
In dem Alter ein Auto hingestellt kriege zum Neusetzen ausprobieren.
The mini-sub was only designed for short attacking trips, but from its new base in the Netherlands, the pilots faced lengthy sea journeys to reach enemy ships. The Bieber was operating at the edge of its capabilities. Heinz will never forget seeing 18 Bieber sailing out on Christmas Eve 1944.
Von unserer Flottille ist
Only one of those men returned.
der das Deutsche Kreuz in Gold gekriegt.
He was decorated with a Knight's Cross and given 3 weeks' leave.
Weil gemeint hat, es geht so weiter, und war fort.
Spotted by British motor torpedo boats, 4 were sunk on the spot. 1 hit a mine, and the remaining 12 scattered and were never seen again.
Most of them froze to death because there was no heating on the boat, or they suffocated.
These were mostly raw recruits with only 6 weeks' training. Their youthful enthusiasm was no match for their lack of seafaring experience. Swept by currents into open seas, they quickly got lost and faced near-certain death, either from Allied aircraft, suffocating, or freezing in icy water.
Also es bedrückt mich ein bisschen, wenn ich den.
Well, it does make me a little sad, because I think of my colleagues and comrades who didn't come back. Those are memories that are reawakened, and they're not good ones. It's good to talk about the Bieber again, but my pleasure is mixed with sadness. Things that you've survived always stick with you.
Es hängt immer das nach, was man so erlebt hat.
For all his horrific memories, Heinz was adamant that the Bieber was a seaworthy vessel if used by trained operators.
But in fact, the craft themselves were very good and would have been much more effective.
War gut zu fahren. Und
Yeah, it was nice to ride and easy to handle. After the war, I thought that it would be a nice craft just to have fun, to dive underwater.
So even now, Heinz still believes the Bieber could have been a devastatingly effective weapon if it hadn't had to sail so far to its targets. Our restoration will give us a chance to prove whether Heinz is right or wrong. And back at the dockyard, things are progressing at last. With our borrowed battery firmly in place, Ian and the FSL boys are putting the Bieber's motor, engine and system controls into position.
I'm leaving them to it because I need to find out whether I've got the right stuff to take our Bieber below the waves. I realise exactly how dangerous our Bieber can be, but I still want to pilot it if I can, and that's why I've come to Scotland to talk to someone who knows all about underwater vehicles. Hello, is Tom Heron around?
Yeah, Tom? Yep. Ah, Claire. Hi. Come on up.
Oh, Tom, a bit cramped, to say the least.
Yeah.
Should we get rid of the...
Yeah, we'll get rid of the seat then, and then we'll be underway.
When a Royal Navy submarine gets into trouble, they call out the unique L5 submersible rescue vehicle. It's a craft capable of being launched anywhere in the world and can dive to depths of over 1,000 feet to rescue the crew. This is brilliant. I can't believe I'm sat in a submarine. Its pilot is Tom Heron. With 27 years of diving experience, I'm getting advice from the expert's expert. Tom's given me a fantastic tour of the lock. I love it down here, and I'm more determined than ever to pilot our Bieber. Tom, this is just unbelievable down here. There's so many dials and switches and...
Yeah.
Have you heard what we're doing down in Portsmouth?
I've heard.
You've heard the rumours?
Yes, rumours that there's
We've got
something
ourselves...
being resurrected.
Yeah, we've got ourselves a Second World War submarine. One man.
Yeah.
What I really want to do is pilot it myself. How long is it going to take, realistically, to train?
I would think
I'm a quick learner.
A crash course of anything from 6 months to a year.
6 months? Our borrowed batteries have to go back in 6 days. So it looks like this is as far as I go as a submariner. But Tom seems like a nice chap, so I popped the question. How would you feel about going down in a 60-year-old submarine? Come on, when are you ever going to get the chance, Tom?
You're right, you're absolutely right. And for history, just to feel what these guys felt like, you know, when maybe 19 years old, being put out into the middle of the sea, going hunting for, you know, a ship. I can't miss it. Yes, we'll go and do it.
Okay, I'm not going to promise anything, but it's such a good project. You're going to love it.
I can't wait.
Absolutely love
I can't wait.
It's great Tom's on board, but now we need a working submarine.